Recently, I've answered a number of questions about printing from SketchUp. It's been a long time since I've done a blog post on the topic, and it's time for another one. There seem to be two basic questions. The first relates to getting the model to be large enough to fill the page, and the second is printing to scale. I'm going to use this model of a 1960s vintage coffee table from Denmark to show you how to manage these tasks. So the first problem that a lot of people run into is they want to make a perspective view print of their model, and so they go to, I'm going to use print preview, and they just hit OK and print it, and it comes out tiny on the page. There's several things that are happening here. The first is that in this particular setup, SketchUp is looking at the entire drawing window space and putting that on the paper. If we zoom in closer on the model, make it fill the frame. In fact, you could use zoom extents, and then do the print. You can see that now it fits better, it's larger on the paper. Another thing that we could do, let's get back to the print preview window, is in properties, change the orientation to landscape. You can also do this through print setup in the file menu. And now when you hit OK, you can see that the model fits the page quite nicely. You can also change the shape of the drawing window. Let's go get back out here and make the drawing window fit the model more closely. There we go. And when we go to the setup, now the model is fitting on the page. That's about as large as you'd be able to make it. Maybe you could get a little bit more, but you'll run into the margin on the page. Another thing you can do when you're setting up is tick the box for Use Model Extents, and you have Fit to Page checked, and in this case you'll see that it's again filling the frame. But the key thing is to make the model fill the drawing space, and it'll give you a better looking printout. Now, printing to scale is a little bit different, and for this example I'm going to create a pattern for this top rail of the table. I'm going to hide these two legs in the top just to get them out of our way, and I'm going to create the pattern from this leg, and this rail, rather than using the rail itself, I'm going to make a new pattern. And so I'm just drawing a rectangle here that passes through the rail, and I'll just right click on the face and choose intersect faces with model, and now I'm just going to move that up, and you can see that I've got that face created there, or that pattern. Delete those edges because we don't need them, and I'm going to move this straight up. We'll go up 20 inches. I don't know, it doesn't matter that much, and we might as well unhide the stuff that we hid. We're only interested in this piece now. So to set this up for printing to scale, the first thing we need to do is set the camera to parallel projection. You can't print to scale if it's in perspective mode. And I'm going to choose the front view, and I'll zoom the selection. So I just right click and alright. So at this point we could print this to scale. Go to print preview here, and I'm going to untick fit to page, and I'm going to untick use model extents, and I'm going to set the scale so in the printout 1 inch equals 1 inch in the model. Notice here it's showing that the width of the paper needs to be almost 27 inches. The rail is 25.5, so with margins that's about right. The height though is shown as over 16.5 inches, and that's due to the size of the drawing window. It's showing that we end up using 6 sheets of paper. And if I click on OK here, just so you can see this, down here at the bottom I've got part of the rail, and here's part of it down here. This isn't a very efficient way to use the paper. There's the bottom part of that rail up here, and the bottom horizontal section and the other. So that's 6 sheets of paper to print that. And again, that's not very efficient use of the space. So there's a couple of things that we can do. First, since I'm using SketchUp 2016 and I have the tray showing all the time, I'm going to just click on the little push pin up here to hide that tray. And I'm going to make this narrower. Let's bring this out this way. I'm going to make the window shorter height-wise. Let's see what happens there. We'll select that and use zoom selection. Let's see if I've got it small enough here. So we'll go to print preview. We have to make a change to something here to get this to take effect. So we'll make that, I just changed that from 1 to 2 and then back to 1, and we're still a little high on the paper here. Width, we need to get something down less than 8 inches. So we'll cancel that, make this a little bit shorter. Let's come down about here. See what we get. Again, zoom selection to get the pattern to fill the frame. And now it shows this as 3 pages is all we are going to need. Let's click on OK here and see. And now I can make this bigger just so you can see this. So there's the first page, the second page, and the third page. Obviously, we really don't need that middle section, and we could probably, because this is symmetrical, we could probably get by with just part of this. So rather than leaving it like that, let's come down here, let's put in a guideline, and we'll look at the dimension, and I don't know, 8 inches is probably plenty as we get into that section that's straight. And we'll just deselect or delete all of that stuff and get rid of the guideline. Actually, let's go back to our full frame here and zoom selection. And now print preview, and it's showing Again, 1 inch in the printout, 1 inch in SketchUp. It's showing the width a little bit greater than I want, so I'm just going to change something just by selecting here. Now it's in the right paper size range for what we've got to print on. And there's our pattern. And this would be printable at this stage. It's a little bit of monkeying around to get to this point. It's not terrible once you learn the tricks. It's a whole lot easier to do this in Layout. If you are using the Pro version of SketchUp, I would highly suggest using Layout instead. I'm going to save this file. We'll fix that later. And then I'm going to send this to Layout. And I'll just pick a thing here to make this set up. There, it's set to full size 1:1. And actually what I'll do is I'm going to render that in vector. Tells me it's going to take some time. That's okay. And now I can export that to a PDF file, and I'll just give it a name, and we'll export. And there's a pattern that we can use to print. The nice thing about doing this in Layout is that you could print the entire rail, for example, on a long sheet of paper, or lay it out to be printed on a long sheet of paper that you could send to your favorite office supply place for printing, and they can print a large piece using the PDF file. So there are some different options. Again, you can do it from SketchUp directly. There are some limitations, but it's kind of up to you as to how you want to handle that. Just know that it can be done.